Today I just got my hands on the Zooz ZEN71 800 series on-off switch. I'm going to unbox it, set it up, then show you some basic automations inside a Home Assistant. Inside the box we have these wire labels, this neutral jumper wire, the user manual, and finally the switch itself. My first impression after handling the device is that it feels really high quality. Now that we unbox the device, let's add it to Home Assistant. To ensure that I don't have any problems including devices into my network, I like to exclude them first. To exclude the ZEN71, you simply put the hub into exclusion mode and then press the lower paddle 3 times. If the exclusion is successful, the LED indicator on the ZEN71 should turn solid green for 3 seconds. To include the ZEN71, you simply put your hub into inclusion mode and then press the upper paddle 3 times. Then enter in the device-specific key when prompted. If the inclusion is successful, the LED indicator on the ZEN71 should turn solid green for 3 seconds. You should also see a prompt telling you that your device was successfully included. The first thing I like to do after I add a device to my network is update the firmware. You can get the latest firmware by visiting the Zooz support website. You simply search for your device and then click on the appropriate link to download the firmware. Now that we have our firmware downloaded, we need to extract the .gbl file from the zip file, then head over to Home Assistant to install it. To install the new firmware, click the Advanced button under the Node settings. Then under Firmware Update, click Begin. Click the paperclip to select your firmware file, then click OK to start the update process. If you exit out of the Advanced menu, you can see the update progress in the control panel. Once the process completes, you will see a green box telling you that the update was a success. Now that our firmware is up to date, let's configure our device. The ZEN71 has 19 different parameters that you can configure. Let's take a look and see what each parameter does. By default, the upper paddle is used to turn the switch on and the lower paddle is used to turn the switch off. The inverted orientation setting allows us to change this. If we set this parameter to enable, the lower paddle will now be used to turn the switch on and the upper paddle will be used to turn the switch off. This is useful if you want to install the switch with the LED indicator on top. If you set the inverted orientation to momentary mode, you can use any paddle to turn the switch on or off. Simply press the paddle once to turn the device on, then press the same paddle again to turn the device off. The second parameter allows you to configure when the LED indicator is on. By default, the LED indicator is on when the load is off. You can change it so that the LED is on when the load is on, it's always off, or it's always on. If you plan on using the different LED colors in your automations, I would set it to always on. Parameters 3 and 5 control the auto turn on and auto turn off timers. This allows you to specify the time in minutes you want your device to turn on or off after it turns on or off. Let's set the auto turn off timer to 1 minute and see what happens. As you can see, when I manually turn the device on, it automatically turns itself off 1 minute later. Parameter 8 allows you to specify the state a switch should be in when it powers on after a power failure. The default is to return to its previous state, but you can always set it to always on or always off. Parameter 11 controls the smart switch mode. By default, I can use Z-Wave commands or the paddles to turn my load on or off. If I set parameter 11 to local control disabled, I will no longer be able to use the paddles to turn the load on or off. If I set it to local and Z-Wave control disabled, I will no longer be able to use the paddles or Z-Wave commands to turn the device on or off. This is useful if you have a smart bulb connected and you don't want it to lose power, but you still want to be able to control it. Parameter 13 allows you to set the smart bulb reporting behavior. By default, if you set your ZEN71 to local and Z-Wave control disabled, the ZEN71 will still report that it's turning on and off, and the LED indicator will turn on and off, despite the load not actually turning on and off. You can change this behavior by setting parameter 13 to no status or LED state change when physical and Z-Wave control is disabled. Now if I turn my switch on and off, you can see that it doesn't report any state changes and nothing happens to the LED indicator. Parameter 15 allows you to set the LED indicator brightness. The default brightness is set to 60%, but you can change it to 30% or 100%. By default, every time you adjust the value of a parameter, the LED flashes to confirm the change. You can adjust this behavior by configuring parameter 19. It is recommended to disable this parameter when you want to enable LED indicators in your automations. Now with this parameter disabled, I can make a configuration change and nothing will happen. Parameter 14 allows you to select the indicator color. The default color used is blue. You can also switch to white, green, or red. Here's what the different LED colors look like up close. Associations allow one Z-Wave device to directly control another Z-Wave device without communicating through a hub. As you can see from the Z-Wave Alliance product page, the ZEN71 800 series has 3 association groups. Any device added to group 2 or 3 will automatically turn on and off when the ZEN71 turns on and off. Now that we know what our device is capable of, let's set up an association in Home Assistant. The first thing you need to do is expand the node settings and then click on the Groups tab. To set up a new association, click the Add button. For node endpoint, click Root Endpoint, and then for the group, select Group 2. The target node is the device that you want to control. In our case, this is our smart plug, so we select our smart plug from the list. In the target endpoint section, we would then select Root Endpoint. Once this is done, click Add. If everything is successful, you should see your new entry in the list. We can verify our association works correctly by turning our ZEN71 on and off. On the left I have my ZEN71 and on the right I have my smart plug. As you can see, when I turn my ZEN71 on and off via Z-Wave commands, my smart plug also turns on and off. The same thing also happens when I manually turn my ZEN71 on and off. If I wanted to limit when my associated device is turned on and off, I would adjust the Send Status Change Report parameters. There are 4 different parameters, one for each method that you can use to turn the ZEN71 on and off. If I didn't want my associated devices to turn on and off when my ZEN71 is turned on and off using Z-Wave commands, I would simply set the Status Change Report Z-Wave parameter to Disabled. Now if I try to turn my ZEN71 on and off using Z-Wave commands, nothing happens to my smart plug. Parameter 9 allows you to enable or disable sync control. Once you enable sync control, certain button presses will generate event notifications. These notifications can then be used as triggers for your automations. In the control panel, you will notice that there are 3 scenes. Scene 1 corresponds to the upper paddle and Scene 2 corresponds to the lower paddle. If I double tap the lower paddle, I will get a notification on Scene 2 telling me that the paddle was pressed twice. If you enable parameter 18, this will allow your dumb 3-way switch to generate scene notifications as well. However, it's important to note that this will only work if your 3-way switch is a momentary switch and parameter 12 is set to momentary switch. Parameter 17 allows you to enable or disable local programming. By default, you triple tap the upper paddle to put the ZEN71 into inclusion mode and triple tap the lower paddle to put it in exclusion mode. When you disable local programming, these controls get disabled. This allows you to use the triple tap functionality for scenes instead. The ZEN71 user manual provides many different examples on how to wire up a 3-way switch. In my case, I will be using option 2B as it's the most common and the easiest method to set up. The way a 3-way switch works is very simple. Any state change on your 3-way switch causes a state change on your ZEN71. For example, on the left I have my 3-way switch and on the right I have my ZEN71. Anytime I turn my 3-way switch on and off, the bulb attached to my ZEN71 turns on and off. I can also press the upper paddle on my ZEN71 to turn the bulb on, then turn my dumb 3-way switch on to turn the bulb off. Parameter 12 allows you to specify the through-rate switch type. This parameter changes how the ZEN71 registers a state change. Let's see what happens when I set my through-rate switch type to a momentary switch. Now when I change the state of my through-rate switch to off to on or on to off, it doesn't cause a state change on my ZEN71. To get it to register a state change, I have to momentarily turn my device on and then turn it back off. You could easily accomplish this by using a momentary switch like the Zooz ZEN71. Since I don't have one available, I'm going to demonstrate how the momentary mode works by quickly turning my through-rate switch on and off. As you can see, every time I momentarily close and open the circuit, my ZEN71 turns on or off. Now that I've unboxed the device and showed you all the configuration settings, I want to show you some useful automations that you can set up inside a Home Assistant. The first thing I want to do is show you how to use the scenes as triggers for your automations. In Home Assistant, click Add Trigger, select Device, and then select your ZEN71 from the device list. By default, Central Scene Action, Scene 1 is selected. If you click in the Value section, you will see that you have 7 different triggers that you can use for your automations. You can use a single press all the way up to a 5 times press. The next thing I want to show you is how to change the LED color. In the Action section of your automation, click Add Action, then click Device, and then select your ZEN71 from the device list. Then select Set Value of Configuration Parameter 14 LED Indicator Color from the Action list. Now you can easily select the color that you want your ZEN71 LED indicator to change to. Another thing you might want to automate is when the local control is enabled or disabled. Once again, click on the Action list. Then select Set Value of Configuration Parameter 11. Now I can set local control disabled just like I could in the configuration settings. The ZEN71 is a high quality Z-Wave switch. When you consider the fact that it uses the latest 800 series Z-Wave chip, it has a ton of features, and you could pick them up for $25 ship. It's in my opinion the best and most affordable option for anyone looking to add Z-Wave switches to their smart home ecosystem.